All right, Jim, there we go, and they are off. Your elite women's field racing today's short track race. Man, there is some heavy hitters in that field with us this weekend. We're getting the first chance to see the likes of Sevilla Blanc, Jennifer Jackson, Kelsey Urban, your current USAC national champion in cross country. Gwendolyn Gibson is with us. Bailey Siopa with Bear National Team, a long list of athletes. Take a look back at last year. I pulled some results, did a little bit of homework here, and I will tell you, in this field right now, Jennifer Jackson finished second in this short track race here last year. Gwendolyn Gibson with Trek Factory Team took third. McKenna Kellerman with Bear National came across the line in fifth. So a lot of this field, a lot of these elite women, they have familiarity with this course. They know what they've gotten themselves into. It's going to be interesting to see who takes the win here today.
Yeah, you know you've got a stacked field when your front row contains two of the North American current national champions in the sport on the line there. We had the Stars and Stripes and the Canadian Maple Leaf both represented on the front line as our race now kicks off. 20 minutes of racing for our elite women, one of our feature races of the day.
Well, and kickoff it did. This pace, they are setting this pace early. We'll get an idea. I think that's the Maple Leaf I see. That might be Jen Jackson in that Canadian National Championship kit early on. We'll see if we can verify that. But early on, the pace is blistering fast, Jim.
That does not surprise me at all. These athletes all trained up over the winter. They are tuned up hard for the upcoming World Cup season. But not to mention that, they're contesting for this UXXC title as well. They're ready to go. This race is on in full effect.
Full effect it is, and that is Jen Jackson currently setting a pace out of Canada, your current Canadian national champion. She makes her way through lap one of several with the, again, shooting for a 20-minute race. We don't know how many laps they're going to do. They're going to decide that and sort that out themselves, but the race officials, they'll let them get a race in. They'll see the pace that's being set. They do some quick math, and they figure out, well, they're going to do this many laps to get to 20 minutes. Okay, here's some riders taking that A and B line. Jen Jackson gapping that.
Jump. That's the first time we've seen that all day.
So that's the benefits of that A line. You see other riders pumping through, but Jen now already off the front. First lap in, we're about to see her come just hauling through the start-finish area for the first time of the day.
Yeah, nice lead there. She opened up in just one lap. A good, let's call that 15, 20 bike lengths. Good 5 or 6 seconds maybe. As a group of 5 now, 6 now chasing on her.
Yeah, in there was Gwendolyn Gibson, Sophia Waite, Sevilla Blanc back racing the U.S. Cup scene this spring. Love to see that. Current U.S. national champion Kelsey Urban also in the mix in the top 5. It's a who's who of elite racing here in North America with us today. The Orange Steel Pro Cup, beautiful Temecula, California. Wind's starting to pick up a little bit. Not expected to be a factor. Maybe 9-10 miles an hour this afternoon. You start to see Old Glory up there starting to wave in the wind. I can't imagine that has a big impact on this field.
Not today. I don't think so. You mentioned the name Sevilla Blanc. I've been watching her race for the past couple of years. She's one of those riders that can really change a race halfway through. She can be sitting in the pack and not necessarily up at the front of the lead, and then all of a sudden decide, I'm going to take this race over and race her way out of that back up into the lead. So let's keep an eye on her as this race progresses. We're just now about halfway through the second lap.
Yeah, I first met Sevilla in 21 after a nasty spill in Fayetteville, and since she's dominated several rounds of the U.S. Cup, including 2022 and 2023 in Fayetteville, so she's always a factor in these races.
Racing internationally, too, that really helps you hone your racing skills, right? When you're going against the best, not just in your own country, but the best from every country out on the World Cup scene like that.
Well, and speaking of countries, also representing Team USA at this past summer's Paris Olympics. So
quite well.
Jen Jackson, one of your Olympians, as was Sevilla Blanc as well. So Olympians out there mixing it up in the field here today.
Kelsey Urban now stamping her authority on this race and tightening up that gap to back up to where Jen is still leading.
Yeah, it looks like we've got 4 or 5 of our elite women off the front. Gets a little pinchy there as they get ready for the descent. Okay, here's that A-B line we've been talking about. We know Jen has the confidence to go down and send it over this gap. We saw that create a nice, there she does it again right there. Okay, some more athletes starting to follow her in that approach, and you can see that A-line really coming into effect there as that really was able to let them create some more separation, additional separation that they already had prior to going into it.
Especially if you're able to carry the speed and gap that jump. You're able to to almost stay the same speed as the lower, faster line, but it's longer, right?
Okay, we got
Grupo Compacto coming through here after lap
setting up.
2.
We got some racers setting up here. Jen she was comfortable to set up for a minute. Sure as we say it. Now, Sevilla Blanc making the move, comfortable to get up there. Maybe Jen's like, hey, somebody else get up here, take a turn. Sevilla says, no problem. Hopped right up to the front, now currently setting the pace for that Decathlon Ford team.
And she didn't sit up at all. That was more of a, I'm coming over the top of this, and I'm really going to stamp my authority on this race right now, right here.
Yeah, now Gwendolyn Gibson, that Track Factory racer, now in second. Jen Jackson out of Canada in third. Looks like we've got about 8 riders already creating that separation early on in what is a short track race. So I think this is going to be your top field right here. We'll see if anybody else can come back on terms. I don't know that they have what it takes based on the speed that these ladies are carrying.
This is like an FTP test on steroids, right? You talk about FTP test taking 20 minutes, and you think that's as hard as thing you do, turning yourself inside out. This is way harder than that because you're racing. You're actually contesting for something and trying to take the win. So an amazing effort being put forth by all the riders out here today, especially this really, really packed field of elite women. God, such a beautiful course. Got to be so much fun to be out there and racing. This right here has been one of the decisive sections, and again, it forces a lead change as the little whoops and the kicker up force people to take a different line and come off the speed that they were carrying.
Yep, you have to imagine Jen was comfortable sitting back there in third for a few minutes, catching her breath. She's had all she wanted. She was like, no, I want back up front in that clean air, and there she was. She made that move on that little punchy climb, got right around Sevilla, now currently back setting the pace. All right, now we have Track Factory racer Gwendolyn Gibson now making the move up into first as she darts kind of on the inside of that corner.
Elbows out all the way around, no quarter given, none asked, and everybody fighting for every little inch they can get on this course.
Kelsey Urban still in the mix there as well. And there's that A-line. Gwendolyn taking that A-line. All these elite women taking that A-line. Looks like they're going to see 4 to go this time through. Leaders of the race going to see 4 to go next time through as they make their way back and through the start-finish here at the Orange Seal Pro Cup presented by Vail City. Beautiful Temecula, California.
All right, your top 5 as they come across the line. Gwendolyn Gibson, Jennifer Jackson, Sevilla Blanc, Kelsey Urban, and Ruth Holcomb. McKenna Kellerman right on top of them as well. Bear National well represented in that top 6. And we've got a race, folks. 4 laps to go for our elite women. It really is so impressive to watch the abilities of the athletes across the spectrum, but certainly when you can sit and watch the elites that do this for a living. These folks, these women, this is their job. This is what they go out and do. They train for this every single day. And I'll say this too, folks. Follow them on social media. Support the brands that support them because they're the ones putting the time and the effort, the money into growing this sport out. But to be able to watch them up close and personal like this is a real, real treat.
Yeah, and now it is Kelsey Urban, your current U.S. national champion, now setting the pace. She found her way up towards the front. And now Sevilla Blanc's on her wheel. Gwendolyn Gibson with Trek Factory in third. Jen Jackson's filtered back to fourth. And you wonder, Jen went off hot there from the beginning. You wonder, did she, we talk a lot about in this sport about a book of matches, and you can burn them all if you're not careful. Something tells me Jen has what it takes to probably pry some of these spaces back. Here's this place we've seen this divisive space on course where moves have been made, and Sevilla there hopping up into second now in front of Gwendolyn Gibson.
Bike handling skills on full display here, too. It's so impressive to watch how easily and smoothly they go over some of the more technical sections, over the gap jumps, in and around the twisty sections. Sevilla still holding that second wheel nice and easily. Top 4, top 5 racers all still bunched together. Coming through the last half of the lap.
Hey, quick shout out to Ruth Holcomb out there mixing it up here. Ruth Holcomb started last in our call-up, started 22nd in this field, and has found her way all the way up to 5th last time through. So shout out to Ruth and that Santa Cruz hit squad out here making some noise early on in the weekend and making some moves as she moves her way up in the pro field. Going to be 3 to go next time through for these elite women athletes.
Not surprised at that. Ruth is one of the more talented riders on any terrain. Switching from gravel to mountain bike this weekend and holding up quite well. They're going to come through and see a sign that shows them that they've got 3 laps to go.
That's
3
right.
laps to go for our elite women, led across the line by the current U.S. national champion.
That's right. That was Kelsey Urban leading the way with Sevilla Blanc, Jen Jackson, Gwendolyn Gibson, Ruth Holcomb with that Santa Cruz squad. Then shout out to McKenna Kellerman with Bear National Team in the mix. Development rider up in the mix with these ladies. And you know, we've seen her out there for several years now. You know, she's really fine-tuned her skills with that Bear National Team. But great to see athletes like McKenna and teammates Bailey Siopa, also with Bear National Team, mixing it up and in the top 10.
Oh.
Taco truck's now open. Look at the action. So far, so good? Yeah, I think so, buddy. How are you doing? Great. How's this, guys? Is it fun? This is awesome.
All right, here we are. They're all bunched up. All right, things are starting. Okay, there goes a move on the outside. It's Jen Jackson jumping around Sevilla as they're still trying to sort this out.
They're going too wide on a section that barely even holds 2 bikes.
Here we go. It is Gwendolyn Gibson. She was able to hold that second place behind Kelsey, trying to let all these other elite women sort it out behind them. Jen Jackson. Here comes this divisive space. Okay, there it is. Jen was able to make the move on Gwendolyn Gibson to find herself back in second. Now chasing down Kelsey Urban. It's national champion versus national champion, Jim.
North American's finest on display here at Vailocity Park in Temecula for round 1. A fantastic race being played out as the 2 current national champions in the short track distance are putting their display on for all these great fans watching us here live and around the world on InsiderMTV.com. Spectacular race being played out for us, represented in their respective national championship jerseys. Tightly packed group of 5 racers now coming into the last half of the lap. Big decision to be made here. Most of these riders have taken the A line each time.
Yeah,
that's the case here again.
I don't think it's a choice now, Jim, as they're starting to just gap that pretty with ease after the first couple laps, get comfortable clearing that gap as they make this final turn through. They should be seeing 2 to go this time through, fans. 2 to go.
Yes, indeed. 2 laps to go as our lead group of 5 comes back across the line, led by Kelsey Urban.
Yep.
Cool thing about that national champion jersey is you get to wear it in the discipline for the entire year that you have it. And then after that year, when you don't have it anymore, you get to wear a representation of it in the stripes on your sleeve forever as you race in that discipline. Really cool feature. One of the neat things of cycling, how they represent the national and world champions in that regard.
Yeah, and speaking of a former national champion, Sevilla Blanc also has worn those stars and stripes in her career. So we see a lot of our former and current national champions out here mixing it up this weekend at the U.S. Pro Cup.
I'm sure we'll see some rainbows on the sleeves of Chris Blevins as he lines up here for the men's race after this, but we'll deal with that when we get to it because we got too good of a race here playing out right now with our elite women, group of 5, as they are about to start tackling some lap traffic.
Yeah, and we saw this the last race. We saw in that 17, 18-year-old female, that women's race, that, you know, they had to contend with some lap traffic late in the race. It looks like our elite women are going to do the same. We'll see just how divisive that becomes. Okay, here's this one section we've been talking about. It's this punchy little up before there's an opportunity to then cut that corner short. There's like 2 chances to make a move right there in that same little section. Everybody comfortable to just kind of pedal through that time.
Look at the speed they're carrying down through this section. Amazing. The bike handling required and the technical capabilities to push the bike and the body through this short track course.
Yep, we do now have, it is a group of 5 off the front, led by Kelsey Urban. Gwendolyn Gibson now up in second. Jen Jackson in third. Sevilla Blanc in fourth.
This is anybody's race at this point. Any of these women could take the win here.
Yep, and you got to wonder, has anyone saved enough? They're going to get the bell lap next time through. It's going to be 1 to go for our elite women next time through, and you just have to wonder who's left enough in the tank, who's got what it takes to throw a dart. You know some moves are going to be made. We'll see if any of them stick. All right, here we go for a final time, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to hear the bell as our leaders make their way through. Starting to sort it out, catch a breath. Who's going to make a move? Who wants this hole shot? Who wants to take it in? Sevilla Blanc jumping up to the front. She knows how critical it is to lead this group into that single track section. She saw the opportunity. She made the move. She's like, I'm comfortable. I'll set the pace.
I hit the throttle, and I'm going to take this race over. 1 lap to go for our elite women.
Yeah, it looks like the pace may have been too much for Ruth Holcomb. She's been dropped off the back. It is now a group of 4 off the front, being led by decathlon Ford athlete Sevilla Blanc. They're having some conversation. Now Kelsey Urban now jumping up in the mix to the front.
Kelsey coming right over the top, having none of it. She says, no, this is my race. I'm taking charge of this, as they lead into the climbing sections of the course.
Gwendolyn Gibson still just literally right on her wheel as they make their way into this section.
How'd you like to be in that sandwich right there? 2 national champions, 1 in front of you, 1 behind you, and you're doing everything you can to hold onto that wheel and make your move when the time is right.
Well, something tells me Gwendolyn has what it takes for that Trek Factory team. Here we go.
What a great race.
Once again, this is the final lap for
here
our
on the
elite
fastest,
women.
Yeah, the fastest section of the course now. More lapped riders to contend with, as that group of 5 is now whittled down to a group of 4. Still anybody's race, as we're going to come up into one of the other sections where they have the opportunity to make a pass. Inside line there.
Well, I called it too
and
early.
She makes the move around the outside of her, still cut off. Kelsey having none of it.
Holding their line, protecting the inside of that turn, because we're going to run out of racetrack. I called it a little too early last race, thought we might see a sprint finish in that 17, 18-year-old women's race, and it ended up not happening, but I don't know. Jim, this one here is setting up for a pretty spectacular finish. They're going to hit this A-line one last time, and then they got one big swooping turn to get it done.
She's just right on her. Every move being countered and held on to. Does she have the opportunity to make that pass, or is it going to come down to a drag race?
Here it is, and drag race it is, as all 3 of these athletes up and out of the saddle, twisting the bars off those bikes. Gwendolyn Gibson trying to go on the inside of Kelsey Urban. Does Kelsey Urban have what it takes?
Kelsey Urban at the line. Hand up in the air. Stars and Stripes jersey on display. What a fantastic finish.
Absolutely unofficial.